Alright, ciao YouTube. Wanna try this new video format where I am driving and talking about things. Specifically, I'm driving to the gym, so it feels like Sam Sulek type of video, but I'm not gonna be talking about gym stuff. So, the topic I want to talk about today is actually aim training, shockingly. But specifically, I want to talk about aim training itself, the concept of it, and why I really do not get why people think that it's not useful. People in 2024 still are asking me like, hey, do you think that aim training actually does something for you? And do you think that when you were playing as a pro, it helped? So I want to approach this argument with, first of all, I will immediately declare my bias. I work at Aim Labs, so clearly there's a bias there, but it's not like I worked at Aim Labs first. I work at Aim Labs because I am a big believer in aim training. So the analogy I always use is that aim training is to esports, specifically shooters, obviously, what going to the gym and doing weightlifting and accessory lifts is to pro athletes. Typically, a pro athlete in any sport will also be going to the gym and doing accessory stuff so that they improve their performance. So it's been accepted in the world of humans that you can go do some repetition of some exercise that is specifically targeting a weakness and it will improve it. I think it works through the force of creating habits. I don't know, I'm not a neuroscientist, but I know it works. Some neural pathways are created or strengthened, and then you are better, more consistent, and have higher peaks in whatever type of performance you're trying to achieve. So I kind of don't understand why people assume that it's different from aim training. Some people make the case that, oh, well, it's too different from the game you're playing, which I completely disagree with. That's not a problem. And you can see that pros can move between different shooters. And if you take a pro from an arbitrary shooter that has an actual competitive scene and you put them in any other shooter, they will immediately be better than average, at least when it comes to mechanics, right? Now, if there are specific game mechanics, it will take time for them to learn them. But when it comes to aim, they will probably be way above average. So assuming that we all agree that's true, and I think we've seen that countless times. I mean, look at Shroud. Shroud was a Counter-Strike pro player, but then he immediately started playing other games like PUBG, etc., and he immediately started being awesome at them. So there must be some underlying skill that exists across games, even though the games are vastly different, right? So if that is the case, then I don't see why one cannot believe that it can be trained. Because clearly, if it exists, there's some underlying shared motion that our brain is learning. And what happens, in my opinion, is we learn, register that there's a target on screen, and then your brain comes up with a calculation that is, how do I move my mouse so that I successfully rotate my point of view to be on target? That is the core of aiming. And then there's also that, okay, as it moves, how do I quickly react to its movement so that I stay on it, which is tracking. But basically, that is clearly the main components to aiming, and I think they can be trained. Now, specifically, if you work on your weaknesses, you're going to be training more efficiently, which is true across all, I think, types of training in the world, not just aim training. So you should be doing some routine that is somewhat tailored to you, or at least tailored to the game you're playing, and you should be doing a routine. And I think the same way in the gym you try to do progressive overload, where you increase your weights every time, in aim training specifically, you should measure your progress. You shouldn't just like do it for the sake of it, but you should measure your progress and make sure that some metric is going up, be it accuracy, be it consistency over time, your average for the day, is it higher than last time? Your peak, is it slowly going up? Stuff like that. You should measure it, and if you start being stale and plateauing, you should start wondering like, what's going on? Should I maybe integrate some other exercise that will target my weakness that is making me plateau? Like, I think you should take training seriously like that if you're serious about being the best you can be at competitive shooters. But I don't see why anyone would make a case that it doesn't work. All of these things to me are pretty logical. I think there's a clear correlation between good people in aim trainers and good people in game. And some people don't understand that this is not new. Like, yes, aim trainers as like a concept are kind of new, you know, last what, 4 years or so, 4 to 5 years. But aim training is not new. I remember specifically, you know, in like 2009, 2010 or something like that, Scream, you know, Scream, the one tap god, headshot god, whatever. He used to play a map that I also used to play a lot in Counter-Strike called aim training underscore aim. And then we had like training underscore aim 2, if I recall correctly, and then training underscore aim underscore CSGO, which was basically a mini aim trainer within CS. Both Counter-Strike Source, and then they ported it to Counter-Strike Go, obviously. And I used to play a lot of that. And you know what it was? It was basically small dots. It was a very similar type of exercise as the type of exercise that I ended up becoming the best at when I was still playing Aim Trainers much. So clearly there's some correlation, and I'm saying a lot of people that are thought to be mechanical gods, even back then, were playing a lot of these things. And then they somehow became mechanical gods. Why would we assume that it's, you know, random, that it's just like some weird coincidence that it happened, rather than accept that yes, aim training works? So yeah, that was my thought on the whole topic. Again, clearly I'm biased, but I think it's a pretty logical argument that one can make, that yes, if you aim train and you do it with in a mindful way, where you're actually aim training and you're taking it as a training, it will work. You will be better. It is the most efficient way to improve. When I say the most efficient way to improve, I mean that given time, let's say any amount of time, if you aim train the way I'm saying you should and play the game at the same time, and you dedicate a given amount of time to both, I think in that given amount of time you will maximize your potential over that time compared to just playing the game. So if you played the game instead of aim trained, if you're doing it mindfully, you would increase your skill slower than if you had been aim training. And I'm really convinced about that. And I'm happy to see a lot more pros moving towards this approach and believing that it works, after seeing people like Maddie win the Red Bull Ready Check, and in general, like the aim training community becoming more mainstream in the world of pros, so that they are, people like Elige are really believing in aim training, and I think the results are speaking for themselves. And I've not seen a single pro come back from actually having tried aim training the way we aim trainer people have been saying it and not like it. So those are my thoughts. Let me know if you guys like this format, and I've got a lot more thoughts on a lot more topics, so I would like to continue making this type of videos, and I'll see you soon.